Hola, angels. Um, wow, it's interesting. I woke up this morning with a huge joy um, of wanting to discuss free will versus willpower. And I will, but not today. Because after I really sat with free will versus willpower, I thought, oh, we first have to discuss the authority problem. Course in Miracles talks a lot about the authority problem. So let's talk about that. And then the next time I'm going to go into free will and willpower because, oh, it brought me great joy to really see this morning. Anyway, okay. I'm going to have to read some of this. I'm going to read out of, hang on. I think it's chapter 2. Chapter 3, Judgment and the Authority Problem. Well, there we go. And I just need to say the authority problem is at the root of all judgment, okay, without exception. The authority problem is at the root of all judgment. When I first started with the Course in Miracles, I knew I had problems with authority. There's a T-shirt. Oh God, it was out of the 60s, I think. Hang on. I've got it right here. Oh, yeah, it was a T-shirt. I don't have a problem with authority. I just have a problem with people telling me what to do. So when I hit this point in A Course in Miracles, I knew I had a problem with authority. But guess what? If any of us judge anything for any reason, we have an issue with authority. We have an authority problem. Okay, so just bypass any resistance to owning your authority problem. We have it. It's just the way it is. Now, I'm going to read from this chapter and just go over this a little because it again, it's like until we get a real understanding of what Jesus is talking about with the authority problem, we're going to continue to judge. And here we go. The issue of authority is really a question of authorship. Big one here. I'm going to repeat this. The issue of authority is really a question of authorship. When you have an authority problem, it is because you believe you are the author of yourself and project your delusion onto others. I'm going to repeat this one again too. When you have an authority problem, it is always because you believe you are the author of yourself and project your delusion onto others. This is judgment. And again, the issue of authority is really a question of authorship. And again, for me, this was since birth. I was always told you can do it. Doesn't matter if you're from the wrong side of the tracks. Doesn't matter if you don't have money. You can do this. It's kind of like authorship. Okay, I just need to intend real hard. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to be a success. I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to make lots of money, and then life will be okay and happy. Okay, I have to do this myself, and you can start to see when we talk about willpower and free will, they're completely opposite. Okay, so you project your delusion on others. When you are the author of yourself, you think you know who you are. You project your delusion on others. You then perceive the situation as one in which others are literally fighting you for authorship. If you think about this with any disagreement you've ever had with anyone for any reason, what are you disagreeing about? Well, they're saying one thing and you're saying another. So your authorship is in conflict with their authorship. Period. And they're both wrong. But I will speak for myself, I will fight to the death to prove you wrong. I mean, talk about beliefs, man. This is the fundamental error of all those who believe they have usurped the power of God. This belief is very frightening, but hardly troubles God. Okay, so when we know we're right, and I've spent my life being right. I was a very opinionated person, and I was right. I also, and this only came clear when I got to terminal cancer, and then I started realizing I was blaming God. Because no one in their right mind would author terminal cancer. So it couldn't have been my authorship, because I would never have done that to myself. So who had it? It had to be God. And therein was a huge conflict that I uncovered, that needed to be uncovered, that had to be uncovered in order to get back into the truth. The truth is, we are love, period. We are love, period. Everything you look on is love, period. And if you make it anything other than love, you're going to have massive conflict in your life. That's it, because it's a fight for this authorship. Now, and we'll talk about this more next time, because I'm uncovering a huge hole here that I think if you can follow me, you're going to see just how devastating this can be for us really experiencing we are love. So I judged a lot. Oh man, I judged everything. I judged a lot about this diet is better than that diet. Okay, we'll just go with one. This diet is a good diet. That diet is not a good diet. And this can look like anything. This can look like someone living off of dairy and sugar versus someone that's a raw vegan. They're both the same. They're both the same. Because we make one good and one bad. And as soon as we separate that out, we're in hell. Doesn't matter what you're separating out. If you separate, you're in hell because you're judging. And how many times does Jesus talk about this? When you judge, you're in hell. Period. Doesn't matter what you're judging. And so we've got to get rid of this exclusivity idea that, well, no, hell, I wouldn't say dairy and sugar is hell. It's just not as good as raw vegan. Okay. I mean, that's just the ego tool of, well, let's try and make this a little less severe. And we've got to quit making exceptions to this. It's really as simple as fear versus love. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is the fundamental error of all those who believe they have usurped the power of God. Okay, if I feel like I'm the author of me, I control me, then I have usurped God's power because God created me. But if I'm like the author of, let's just take cigarette smoking. Well, that's bad. Ooh, that's really bad. I am telling the Christ that's standing in front of me smoking a cigarette, you're wrong to be smoking. When guess what? He, as a smoker, is also created exactly like God. So how can I call them out without usurping God's power? All right. Okay, the belief is very frightening to us, but hardly troubles God. God is, however, eager to undo it, not to punish his children, but only because he knows that it makes them unhappy. So when we split off like this, we're unhappy, and that's all God's concerned with. It's not these details that we have given everything the meaning that it has for them. Cigarette smoking, sugar eating, dairy loving, whatever. All of it's nonsense. It's just an excuse for us to split and separate from the fact that we are everything we see, everyone we have come in contact with is a loving thought in the mind of God. God's creations are given their true authorship, but you prefer to be anonymous when you choose to separate yourself from your author. Okay, we were given authorship by God. And all God says is, oh, honey, I love you exactly as you are and exactly as you're not. I just love you. That's our authorship given to us by God. So then we take our quote unquote true authorship and start separating everything else. Well, the smokers just need to quit smoking. The sugar eaters just need to quit eating sugar. Whatever it is, we're just separating. And that's not true authorship. That's ego authorship. The dispute over authorship has left such uncertainty in in your mind that it may even doubt whether you really exist at all. And oh man, okay. We'll talk about that when it comes to free will and willpower. Only those who give over all desire to reject can know that their own rejection is impossible. So if you give over all desire to judge anything, you'll start seeing that this rejection that we have made up in our mind is impossible. And that's a good thing. Peace is a natural heritage of spirit. Everyone is free to refuse to accept his inheritance, but he is not free to establish what his inheritance is. Okay, we can refuse that we're loving. I did it most of my life because I made myself so wrong. The body was just not right, the right body. And I did this my whole life. But I was not free to establish what my inheritance was. The truth, my body was perfect, still is. And even if I believed in a future, it would always be. In the eternity, is perfect through eternity in truth. The problem everyone must decide is the fundamental question of authorship. All fear comes ultimately, and sometimes by the way, of very devious roots, from the denial of authorship. This offense is never to God, but only those who deny God. So every single time we judge, we are denying God. Let's cut through the chase. There are no exceptions to this. Every time we deny authorship as God intended it and take up ego's false authorship, we're basically saying, fuck you, God, I know better. That's really the truth of it. Every time, I'll give it, every time we wake up and we say, I'm tired, yeah, we're flipping God the bird. Every time we say, I'm sick, yeah, God's wrong. And this is the authority issue. I know what's right. I know when I'm tired. I know when I'm sick. But the problem is we're listening to the wrong voice. We're listening to ego's false authorship. We're not listening to true authorship. Okay? And this is the foundation of understanding why we judge, is because we want to be right in our thoughts and then share them with as many people as possible. And then it gets into huge conflict. And that's why we have world wars. That's why the world looks the way it is. But it starts with me getting my true authorship is everything is perfect. No exceptions ever. If an exception comes up, it's coming from the ego. To deny God's authorship is to deny yourself the reason for your peace. This strange perception is the authority problem. So the reason we can't experience the peace of God ongoingly is this fight of authorship, the authority problem. I know I'm tired. I know I'm sick. And God's just, God, honey, you're not sick. You're not tired. I'm just wanting to come back to seeing the truth of you. You're not broken. You're perfect. You're innocent. And anything that you see in the horizontal is perfect and innocent. Oh boy, this is such a big one. This strange perception is the authority problem. All I can say is the way to really deal with this and I still do, but it's a much easier process for me now because I don't defend my authorship quite as rigorously. But when you see you have an opinion, and you'll probably see you have an opinion when you want to share it. Okay. That's when you'll really see it. You'll be in the middle of a conversation and you'll have this huge desire to share. And it's usually your opinion that you want to share. And all I can say is pause, big pause, and pull it back immediately. Because what you're setting on is to share your authorship of something that you see in the horizontal that will allow you and as many people as you can share your opinion to separate. And that is just not what we're going after here. We're going after loving everything. I can't say that I don't have opinions. Opinions still come into my mind, but I will never share them. Now in the Zoom, I may give you pointers. That's really not my opinion. You know, opinions are not guided. This Zoom room is guided. I've wanted to not do this Zoom room a lot. And every time I do, I get guidance. You know, I mean, the last time I wanted to do this, I was just in a really difficult place of allowing myself to love. And what I got from God is don't ever quit anything from a difficult place. That's not the time to quit something because you're still getting massive lessons from it. Keep going. But the opinions I'm talking about, I mean, being at Namaste has given me my fair share of opinions. And a lot of them were coming from the sincere desire on my part to point to the truth. But the problem is they weren't asking for my assistance. So the only time you really share from your guided place is when someone's asking you for your assistance. And so I learned, and usually by beating myself up, it's like, no one asked you for your help. Oh, right. And so this is where, you know, the big lesson of zip it, Calico, comes from. If they don't ask for help, don't give them your opinion. Okay? Because as soon as I give my opinion that is coming from an egoic place, even though in my mind I was going, well, no, I think this might be helpful to tell them that their idea of diets is just screwed. But you see, I was not seeing them as perfect, exactly as them seeing their diet was, you know, I can't do dairy, I can't do gluten, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't eat anything. I can eat raw carrots and that's it. Allow them that. It's okay. It's not for me to change that unless they come specifically to me and ask me about their diet, then I'm free to share. But in the meantime, I just need to listen, nod, and love. Listen, nod, and love. And keep my fucking opinions to myself. They're not helpful. So with that being said, I think we're going to end it here on the Zoom call. And the next one, we will talk about free will versus willpower. Because again, ooh, man, yeah, that's a big topic. Anyway, so we're gonna stay in the Zoom. Bye, all YouTube people. And